Hi, guys, and welcome back to another edition of the Coronavirus Diaries. Today, I have my guest and good friend here, slash coworker, slash student, Sam here. So, Sam, can you please introduce yourself to the audience and can you kind of tell them your background and what you do? And yeah.
Yeah, hey guys. My name is Sam. I am a student at the University of St. Thomas here in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I also work in software sales part-time at Nagios Enterprises, which is a network monitoring company also here in St. Paul.
Cool. So, Sam, can you kind of describe me what's kind of going on with your life right now? Because you are a student and ever since the coronavirus pandemic kind of took over the world, can you kind of describe me your situation and how you're kind of dealing with that?
Yeah, man. Let's see. Right before spring break, so maybe 2 weeks ago, there were rumors that we were going to go remote as a university. And then when the University of Minnesota pulled the trigger, we went to all online classes. We recently shut down all our campus facilities. And then along with that, sooner than my university, my work also went remote. So pretty much everything went from, in-person activities to remote working, doing stuff from home over the course of a week or two.
Okay. And then can you kind of describe, like, what was your first kind of like what were you feeling when, when I guess it kind of happened, because when your school got kind of shut down and obviously your work, can you kind of describe your feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I would say two things kind of come to mind. First thing is, it was scary. You just don't know what's going to happen overall. And I feel like there is so much information out there in terms of quantity of information. But when it comes to the quality of that information, you just really don't know who to trust. So when you have your work shutting down, when you have schools across the nation shutting down, it's kind of a scary thing. You just don't know what that implies for your own well-being, for your own health, for the health and well-being of people around you. And then selfishly, I would say the other aspect is frustration. I love going to work. I love, communicating with people in person. I think I'm a relatively introverted individual, but I've found out that I really missed kind of that in-office, in-school interaction. And then particularly on the school side of things, I think learning online for a lot of people, me included, is just substantially harder. So from that perspective, I was worried at first, but then I was also, kind of selfishly frustrated that this was happening to, especially the academic side of things.
Gotcha. I know you mentioned like the challenging part. Can you kind of go into detail, like what's the most challenging part of online school?
Yeah, for sure. So, I don't mean to call out any professors individually, but just as a whole, the technical knowledge of academics compared to, people in network monitoring, specifically at the company I work for, is less. So the gap between the technical knowledge necessary to really explain and elaborate complex concepts in the classroom versus over Zoom or on Skype or something like that, that gap is really large for a lot of professors, and they just can't quite close that. There's distractions all around my house. I can, very easily kind of get distracted and not focus on the lecture. And, I just feel generally less engaged. It's harder to talk to a professor if I have questions, especially, in some of my more challenging classes. I enjoyed going to, at St. Thomas, a school where the class size is 15 people or so. So I could very easily take part in a discursive learning experience where now I can't necessarily do that or do that as effectively, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad you brought, I'm kind of glad you said like your professors having a hard time kind of adapting to the technology and stuff, because I actually interviewed one of my teachers, one of my middle school teachers, and she had that same situation, but obviously but obviously from her perspective, it was like, yeah, it was a brand new field and stuff like that.
Totally. I understand why it's challenging, but at the same
Yeah.
time, uh, you know, I wish there was a better way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, I totally agree. And you know why they did that too. So obviously,
Yeah.
so I guess another part. I know you kind of mentioned spring break earlier. Um, how do you react to the people like in Florida that still went on their trip? Like, I think that's kind of insane and selfish, but at the same time, I think I know why they did that. But since you're technically still in college, I kind of want to know your perspective. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you may know, Ravi, I
Yep.
was planning to go to Florida and
Yep.
have a little bit of fun. It's my senior year of college, so this is going to be kind of like a last hurrah. And having grandparents who are, I think, 82 and 84 who live
Mhm.
in Florida, and I was going to visit them. It was a very, very easy decision for me to look at the fact that this disease is the effects for older people aren't extremely well known, but what we do know is that it is typically deadly and or typically capable of being deadly, I should say. And in comparing the ethical weight of going to Florida and having fun, but
Yep.
potentially not only harming my own grandparents, but other older people or people with compromised immune systems, versus having a little bit of fun, I think that's an easy decision to make. I think it's frustrating when I see people saying, you know, I'll be fine if I get it. I'll be totally all right. I think two things. First of all, we just don't know enough to make the assertion that these people will be perfectly okay. It's a new disease. And the second thing is, I think you're just completely missing the moral implication of the older people or the people with compromised immune systems that you may harm. So I find that to be a kind of an angering situation for me. Personally. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Um, I guess I know you recently posted something about your family member maybe having have actually got the coronavirus disease.
Yeah.
Um, do you mind kind of describing that situation when you find out the news? Um, like what was going through you, man? That must have been really tough, you know?
Yeah. So I had a close family member who tested positive for coronavirus. I want to say 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, very early on into this entire epidemic, kind of in the United States, was the first person I knew of, family
Okay.
or not, who tested positive for it. And it is a very scary feeling. However, this individual is young, and that gave me hope. And just looking at the statistics regarding survival rates for young people also gave me hope. But I think what was concerning was just how long the entire process took. So
Mm.
she took the COVID test and had to wait a week for results. It was extremely difficult to get a test.
Mhm.
When she tested positive for it, there was very little they could do for her to help. And just overall, you're kind of, as a family member who cares and loves this person very much, left in the dark regarding how bad the situation might be and what might actually happen. So it's very scary, and there's not a whole lot they can do to make it better.
Sure. Well, I'm glad they kind of like recovered, feeling a lot better. Um, and then Sam, I guess, can you maybe tell me like the kind of like the process that your family member might have gone through to kind of describe me that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go into like the testing process or like recovery?
Yeah, let's kind of do like the recovery process.
Okay, cool.
You know?
Yeah. So, and I could be mistaken here, but after testing positive, it was a self quarantine
Hmm.
for 14 days. At that point, she stayed indoors and stayed within her house. She had plenty of food and supplies, as far as I know, beforehand. So
Oh,
that
no.
wasn't necessarily an issue. Luckily, I think, she's in a major metro area. So kind of knowing this was coming and knowing it was a feasible possibility that, at one point in time she may be exposed to this, she was prepared. Again, luckily, I think we're very, very fortunate as a family that she's young, she's extremely healthy. It sounded like the symptoms were a pretty strenuous, pretty difficult, cold-like symptoms to overcome. A lot of fatigue, a lot of tiredness, a lot of just overall kind of just feeling down. However, it didn't. And again, I don't want to make this seem like it's something trivial.
Sure.
It's horrible. It's not something that I would want to get.
Right.
It does seem like she is, pretty much back to normal.
Okay. That's good. That's good. That's good news, man. So your family member obviously got tested. I know it's very difficult to get tested. I guess um, what like can you kind of describe like the condition she might have as well gotten? Because like I know, because like my family members, some of my family members weren't in critical condition or anything like that, but they couldn't get tested. So I was kind of curious, like
Yep.
how she did it or your family member did it.
Yeah, so she lives in a major metro area in the United States. And it was very, very challenging for her to get tested. And it was extremely fortunate that she did. The particular hospital that she went to, according to, I'm not sure if this was a comment a nurse made or something, she
Yeah.
overheard or they directly told her, but that at the time, and this was, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were only testing 3 individuals a day.
Okay.
And to me, that's just absolutely absurd. And, to have so many people who are older, compromised immune systems, or people on the front lines, to be able to test 3 people a day to me just seems absolutely ridiculous. And how they
Yeah.
come to who test and that sort of stuff, I don't know. I don't know how she was, fortunate enough to get tested. Maybe it was just a first come, first served basis, but it seemed like something that, a lot of people at the hospital were getting turned down for.
Right. Okay. Would you like to add anything else there, Sam, that you haven't
Uh,
gone over that you
None that
want?
I can think of, just maybe that, just because recovery in my particular instance seemed very fortunately in my family's, you know, experience to go well. I don't think that's a case study where you can look at it and say, okay, this is going to be perfectly fine for anyone who's young and healthy. I would just be cautious no matter what.
Sure. Well, Sam, thank you for sharing your story and your experience and your perspective overall. So I really do appreciate it. Thanks for being on this show.
Yeah.
Until next time, guys. Yeah, subscribe, comment below, share, like. Until next time, guys. See ya.